Well, apparently Red Bull gives you wings, and we've got two of them here. Welcome to Lot 76 Cars. My name's Simon, and today we're at the Bicester Heritage Collecting Cars Coffee Run. So hope you enjoy the show and the cars we're going to see. Well, it might look like a 6 Series BMW Coupe, but no, I don't know the full story of this Koenig Special Edition. It's a wide-bodied car. Look at the body kit on it. It's not for shrinking violets, is it? The body kit's absolutely massive. Looks like it's just been chipped off a Testarossa and bolted on. Well, you definitely, I'm not going to see another one of those here today. Just look at that. That is absolutely immense, isn't it? From the back, it's difficult to tell. It is a BMW. The body kit continues down the side. I bet it's the devil for parking. Apart from that, the interior looks relatively stock, doesn't it? Well, if this is your car and you do know the story behind that one, please stick it in the comments, because you've got one of the standout cars of today for me, definitely with that. That is immense, isn't it? So talking of rare beasts, we've got a Subaru SVX, or sold in some markets as Subaru Alcyon. Only ever came with one engine, a 3.3 litre engine, horizontally opposed flat 6, and most, I think, with automatic transmission. But I say officially sold here. Incredible. Look at that side window treatment as well. It's got a side window treatment that just, the window drops down, quite a big glass area. It's also got a very handy wiper on the back, but I guess it is a hatchback in this case. I think it's a hatch anyway, I'm not sure now. I'll stand corrected on that one. This one, like many, is, I mentioned, an auto. You just don't see these about at all, do you? You didn't see them about back in the day, never mind now. So originally designed from Giugiaro, the 1979 car that upon which this is based was based on the Fiat Strada platform, remarkably. And it evolved into this, the need to have a four-wheel drive rally car to replace, I think it was the two-wheel drive 037 Lancias. Made the company develop this, and this is a later evolution car. I'm not sure exactly what the spec is, apologies for that, but it certainly looks a cracker, doesn't it? So the original Porsche 356 ran from 1948 to 65, and it was, I think, Porsche's first production car. This one is the quite revered Chesil Speedster. So no, it's not an original, but the Chesil has got an absolutely superb name in many circles. Has been a very faithful recreation, and you wouldn't know unless you got pretty close up to the badging that this was in actual fact a Chesil rather than a original 356, but nonetheless a very elegant looking car, isn't it? So Collecting Cars are celebrating 50 years of the VW Golf, and we've got a super example of a late Series 1 car. Only about 112 horsepower, but incredible handling cars. This has got the Pirelli P Campaign wheels on it. Originally, first cars came to the UK were only left-hand drive, I think launched in 76, a couple of years after the standard car, and eventually they did come to the UK in right-hand drive. As we all know, that's a lovely example, isn't it? So fire up the Quattro, as somebody once cried. This is an 89, I'm not sure whether it's on the verge of the 10 valve. They went from 10 valve to 20 valve units. Apparently the 10 valves do drive better, they're a bit more torquey. By this time already world champions, actually several times as a car manufacturer, and didn't they make an incredibly iconic rally car and road car? So apparently Red Bull actually engaged with a converter to actually modify the normal standard 114 horsepower Mini Cooper into these, based I think only on the R53. They built 500 units. Now the modifications are pretty extensive, you can see. I mean, we can't avoid talking about the big can on the roof at the back, can we? And you've got where the passenger compartment will be at the back, you've got a storage area for all your cans of Red Bull. And a lot of these were apparently bought back and then crushed. Apparently there's not many supposed to be in private ownership, but there's two of them here today. So the M100 Elan wasn't necessarily that well received at the time by the purists because it was front wheel drive, and the Series 1 car had a relatively short life, using an Isuzu I think 1600 engine because of the relationship that the owners of Lotus then, GM, had with Isuzu as well. At the end of production, somewhat later, they found themselves with a whole load of spare engines. So what did they do? Well, they just developed a Series 2 car, and I think this is one of the examples. This would be a 92 car. Absolutely lovely order. A lot of GM parts inside it. A lot of the switchgear is GM. And I've driven one of these, lucky enough to drive one of these a long time ago, and it made a lasting impression because they absolutely drive as if they're on rails. They really do. Absolutely lovely cars. I need to have another go in one of those. So apparently Bruno Sacco, the designer of many famous Mercedes-Benz, has one favourite design, and this is it. It's the S-Class Coupe, so SEC, S-Class Einspritzen Coupe. That's easy to remember, isn't it? Einspritzen being German for fuel injection. Beautiful car, aren't they? Like quite a few of the Mercedes of this period before and after. Pillarless, and absolutely looks immense inside, doesn't it? That one's got the factory sun. Now this one I noticed earlier is a 5.6 litre engine, so you've got absolutely top of the tree in terms of engine power with this one. Looks great on those wheels. I think, what, split rims or something like that? And this was Honda's 50th birthday present to itself, the Manic Revin S2000. Built only for that purpose. Probably wouldn't make any commercial sense, but what a birthday present, eh? Looks incredible. Now a lot of these did suffer with huge rust issues, but they're starting to become a bit more collectible and really seen for what they were, as an absolutely unrepeatable convertible. Certainly you wouldn't see Honda producing anything like that today. That's an absolute beauty, isn't it? A 105 series Alpha. This is a step nose one. Apparently this was styling, not for cooling or anything like this, but it's got that step nose that was later eliminated. This one's got those beautiful Campagnolo alloys, which look absolutely incredible. No head restraints on the back seats. It's a full, well, pretty much a full four-seater. And in that Alpine white, or whatever the correct colour is, this Giulia Sprint GT looks absolutely immense, doesn't it? Beautiful. So you rarely see these. It's a second generation E32 7 Series. That said, I've seen a couple in the last few weeks. This one's lovely. It's got some great features. Look at the little curtains on the windows there. Owner's just invited me to take a look inside, so I'm not randomly opening people's cars. Beautiful beige leather interior. Joseph Lloyd, eat your heart out. And lots of room there in the back as well. That looks immense, doesn't it? Even got a picnic table on the go. Fabulous. So the E31 8 Series, actually probably the prettiest of the 8 Series I think ever made. Actually sort of landed in production, I think, early 90s. This one's an 840C. I love those pop-up lamps, but then again, I'm a sucker for those. Real proper Grand Tourer. I think actually starting to become a little bit more collectible these days. They weren't built in absolutely huge numbers. But the interesting thing is that model is still in the range. There is still an 8 Series in the range. And this is a lovely 840 Ci. Doesn't that look nice? Well, it's lovely to see one of these out in the sun. It's a Jensen Interceptor. So originally, I think styled by Carrozzeria Turin, and then initially built by Vignali, and then production did actually come in-house to Jensen in West Bromwich. Now, through various incarnations, Jensen had a few issues over the years. There's many of these were continuation cars, or I suppose argued as this. What a lovely place to be, isn't it? That is one hell of a Grand Tourer. I hope the camera's picking up that colour, sort of a browny metallic colour. I'm sure I'm not doing it justice, and probably it has an absolutely fantastically exotic name. Well, as Johnny Smith would say, find another. It's a Subaru Legacy RS. Fantastic world rally car before the Impreza arrived on the scene. I even think McRae drove one of these. I'm pretty sure he did. This is rare to see one of these. Right-hand drive car, maybe a UK car, I don't know. I suspect more likely a JDM car. In case you didn't know, there's a bit of badging on the back. And the interesting thing with this one, it's got that very handy rear wiper on the back window. How handy would it be to have one of those in a saloon car? Not that there's many saloon cars left on sale. That looks great, doesn't it? Now this is the original and probably the best version of the Saab turbo convertible, not the second generation GM cars, some would argue. These sold in reasonable numbers, although I was surprised to find out that probably about 50,000 were produced in total. Lovely, lovely interior, got that typical sort of aero type dash, high up dash there, supposedly reminiscent of aircraft. It's got the lock there between the front seats, and it's in a lovely green. What is that, malachite green? I don't know, maybe I made that up, maybe I did hear it. If you know, then please put it in the comments, because I think it looks lovely, to be honest. Now you're pretty much guaranteed a few treats in the car park at collecting cars, away from the Porsches and the Ferraris. This is a lovely facelifted 89 MG Metro, and doesn't it look a Bobby Dazzler? It's got the period pop-up sunroof, might even be a factory roof looking at that one, I don't know. It does look in immense condition, and it is for sale, and it'd be very tempting for somebody, that one, wouldn't it? I suspect there's a bit more to this Mark II Capri than meets the eye. Looking at the badging on it, Boss 302, has it got a Mustang engine in there? It's got an incredibly lovely paint job, reminds me of reading Street Machine back in the day, remember that magazine? And it says on the back, Urine Stampede. Now Jeff Urine was a renowned tuner of Fords, I believe. Is this something you ladies hand over? Is it a tribute? I may never know unless somebody puts it in the comments. Please do. Now I think the Mercedes S-Class Coupe evolved from this, which was based on the W108, 109 series cars. It's badged 280 SE, but it's 3.5 litre. E standing for Einspritz, and I believe this is probably early fuel injected. Beautiful interior in this car, that fabulous pillarless look, so we can see the interior. We can see it's a column gear change. See the column gear change right up there at the top of the wheel. The horn ring, typical horn ring, those lovely, lovely opening quarter lights in there as well. And it's a stunning looking car, isn't it? Certainly catches my eye in the sun today. So we've got a Plymouth Barracuda in need of a bit of teacup. Well, it's a lovely finish on it, if that's what you're looking for, and an immense looking car. I'm sure it is absolutely well fettled underneath. It looks absolutely mean as hell, doesn't it, that one? Look at the front of it. So this one's immediately caught my eye. It's a Mark I Capri, and it's a 3000 GT. And doesn't it look lovely in this sort of baby blue colour? It is difficult, well, it shows up on camera, but it is immaculate, absolutely immaculate, this one. It's definitely worth a wander into the car park to have a look at this one, because it is a beauty. I don't think anybody tires of looking at these E34 BMWs, particularly when they are badged as M5s like this one. The inside looks an absolutely lovely place to be. The owner's helpfully left the window open so we can have a look at that early trip computer there. Looks like it might even have air conditioning, who knows? That, in this dark grey metallic, is wonderful, isn't it? We're going to stray off the ordinary brief now and pick this one up. It's a Ferrari 612 Scaglietti. What a lovely Grand Tourer these are. I tell you what, these are, in Ferrari terms, I believe these are value for money. I might even have looked at one of these in a man maths moment myself. That's about as far as I got on Auto Trader. So this 1976 Alfa Sud TI with the twin lights and a slightly more powerful engine, in this case a lot more powerful because somebody's dropped the 1.7 litre engine in. Now it's a true survivor for one reason mainly. It's come from Australia. It was in Sydney, cruising around in Sydney, New South Wales, and the current owner got it from there, and that's why it survived. And doesn't it look lovely? I've got a lot of time for a Sud, and that one's a great example. So the original Honda Civic landed in the UK in 1972, and by this was the 6th generation car. These are becoming a bit thin on the ground, aren't they? It looks like a UK car. It's got a JDM style plate at the back I've already seen. Beautiful colour, isn't it? It's a lovely metallic burgundy, very highly prized now by the tuners, and this one's a 1.4. That's lovely, isn't it? So I know this is a Ginetta. I'm hazarding a guess it's a G3 or G4, built by the Warclub brothers down in Essex somewhere, I think. Still thriving as a company now under the ownership of Lawrence Tomlinson. I attended a fabulous Ginetta G-Fest festival last year with a lot more of these cars, so check out that video in the back catalogue. That lovely bubble roof. It's tiny, isn't it? Absolutely tiny. So this is about as basic as an E36 comes. It's a 316i, but it is an auto, and somebody ticked metallic paint. First cars had, certainly in this trim, had wheel covers, unpainted bottom halves to the bumpers. It's in lovely spec. In fact, I think I've even looked at this one when it was for sale last year. It's not too many 316 autos about. But what a great looking car. What a massive step forward from the E30 that must have been with that styling. So this is a lovely example of a Volvo 122S, or so-called Amazon, never officially called Amazon I believe. These were sold officially in the UK. This is right-hand drive. In fact, one of the first police forces to take these in estate format, I think, was one of the UK forces, maybe Berkshire or Hampshire. I think Hampshire in actual fact. Lovely cars. Volvo's commitment to safety clear at this stage. They invented seat belts and offered them to the rest of the industry without a license fee. That's a lovely car, isn't it? That's a rare one. What's that, 67 E-plater? So we've got a lovely RS2000. I think these were double overhead cam, only about 105 horsepower. This is, I think, a 78, and the owner's had it from being 19 years old. What a history with the car. Now, it's in an unusual colour. I recognise this colour, sadly, and it's Tuscan beige. And you rarely see RS2000s in this colour. In fact, to me, that actually makes them quite a bit more special. Lovely. So do not adjust your set. It really is this bright. It's a Honda Civic, but it's the 1600 VTI Jordan edition. As you can see there, Jordan Formula One team, through their Honda engine placement, ran this special edition with Honda in the UK. Pretty rare to see these now. Still got the Jordan script on the side of this one as well, and made in very, very limited numbers. We'll try and get a shot around the front of this one if we can as well. It's a rare one these days. A lot of these got crashed back in the day, but this one survived, and it looks a beauty. So 1975 saw Citroën pick up the trophy for Car of the Year with the CX. This is a later car. Absolutely lovely cars these are. Hydropneumatic suspension, very, very light power steering. This is a left-hand drive one. In actual fact, I think it was Pininfarina. It's loosely based, apparently, on the Pininfarina design that they did for BMC called the 1800 Aerodynamica. Look that one up. There are a lot of similarities with that car. Whether they'd seen that one or they just traced the paper on that one, we're not sure, but great to see a CX here today. So the RS Turbo was packing only around about 130 brake horsepower, something like that. Not much by today's standard, but of course much lighter cars. Virtually all of them were in this white with the blue livery on the side that you can see. Recaro seats, factory sunroof in there as well. And we've got the whale spoiler at the back, or a small one. Looks lovely, doesn't it? Now here we've got a true Festival of the Unexceptional contender. It's what, an 82-83 Fiesta Mark 1 facelift. It's got the bigger bumpers. Now this particular one, it doesn't have head restraints. Maybe somebody's put a radio in. Oh no, they haven't. It's got the proper blanking plate where the radio should be. And in actual fact, on the back of the car, it just barely gets a badge. It gets Fiesta. Oh, don't you just love that one? That is in beautiful condition, isn't it? What a lovely base Fiesta. I can't for the life of me remember the last time I saw a Suzuki Swift GTI, but it was a long, long time ago. And look at this one. This one's been stripped out for a bit of track action. It does look in pretty good nick bodily, and not that much in the back except that big old roll cage. That is a rare one these days, isn't it? So the Mini Self-Preservation Society is here. We've got a special edition Open. We've got one I don't quite recognise here. Although it's what, probably Cooper based, is it? 94. Then we've got the lovely Flame edition, red flame edition with some Cooper highlights. For instance, this wheel arches and those larger wheels. And this one's a little beauty, isn't it? It's a Mayfair, but I think it looks like this opaline green that Austin Rover had at the time. I do remember this on Maestros, and it's lovely. Great to see that one. I really like that one. That's lovely. So actually based on the platform of the Sierra Cosworth, not on an Escort platform, is this mallard green Escort Cosworth. There were small turbo and large turbo versions, a lot of homologation done for rallying, but this mallard green one looks absolutely mint. Probably not quick by today's standards, but back in the day they were absolutely flying machines, weren't they? So with the Mark III Fiesta, Ford helpfully colour coded the bumpers. So the strip on the bumpers on the XR2s, there was an insert that was blue, but the RS Turbo, it was green, so you could show all your friends with that green bumper insert. You didn't have the standard car, you had 130 brake horsepower at your fingertips, and also you'll notice those, I think they were bespoke to the RS Turbo, were those 3-spoke rims. Great to see that here today. These are seldom seen. You do see the XR2s now and again, but the RS Turbos were quite a bit more expensive to drive. They were a bit on and off. I drove one back in the day and they suffered with a bit of the old turbo lag, but that's great, isn't it? So despite its boxy looks, the 155 Alpha, developed to replace this 75, actually is pretty aerodynamic. I mean, the CD factor is something like 0.29. Doesn't look like it, does it? Replaced eventually by the 156, and I think this was the first car to be developed by Alfa on the Fiat Type 3 platform, I think, something like that. Didn't particularly take off in the way that the 156 did, but they do drive particularly well. I can say I drove one of these around Donington many moons ago, and it handles on quite a level. Now, you know, I can't walk past a P11 Primera without making some comment, and this GT looks mint, doesn't it? So many of these didn't survive and rotted away. Its BW registration might be an ex-factory car, Nissan GB car. It's got the piped leather interior that you might just be able to pick up on the camera. It's got the spoiler lower ride height that came with the GT and stiffer suspension, and as GTs comes, that's one of the nicest looking ones I've seen for a long time. So XJ40 was the Jaguar that was in development probably even from the 70s, but Jaguar never had the money to produce it until much later on. And in actual fact, under the stewardship of the Master of Industry, Sir John Egan, they did develop it, and they went on to have a joint venture called Jaguar Sport, which I think was done with Tom Walkinshaw, TWR, Tom Walkinshaw Racing, who subsequently owned the Arrows team. And they produced these sport versions. I think there were engine modifications, there were chassis modifications. You could really choose what you wanted. And this one's in great order. So the Mark I Audi TT looks just so right. It was translated from concept to production with minimal changes. This is an unusual colour. I can't remember the name. I think I might have seen this car before here at Bicester. It's a 3.2, so picked up the spoiler, the larger rear spoiler. Don't forget the standard cars had a spoiler added fairly early into production due to some issues with stability at speed. When's the last time you saw a VW Corrado, especially with the VR6 six-cylinder engine in? Not for a while in my case. This might even be one of the run-out Storm models, possibly. Lovely leather interior. It's got that spoiler that rises at speed to provide some stability, just right at the back there. And they're not actually, they're quite pretty cars, they're not actually that big, are they? So it says something about the Collecting Cars show that amongst all these cars we've got a very expensive Aston Martin DB6. Unusual colour. I've not seen this sort of pinky red colour. Got the Super Lego badges. I think that stands for Super Light. It's got the wire wheels. It's got the lot, hasn't it? It looks absolutely immense. Well, great that somebody bothered to bring that out here today. This is a lovely looking car, and it's, I think, Willow Green 260E. I think 260 might have been the base 6-cylinder engine. I can't remember. I'll have to put it in the comments if I do remember that one later. But it's a beautiful colour. It's in brilliant order, isn't it? Absolutely brilliant looking car. So what we've got here, we've got an MG Maestro Turbo, engineered by Tickford, part of Aston Martin, and got quite a lot of fettling in actual fact. Built in relatively small numbers. I'm sure we'll see these more of these at the BMC and Leyland show. So we've got a Ford Ranchero pickup as well. Again, it's just the shows the breadth and scale of the cars at this show. You got room for what? Just about 3 people on that sort of split front rear seat. They can squeeze a few in. You got plenty of space in the back. Oh, you got a trolley jack in there as well. That might come in handy. Wow. Well, you certainly won't see another one like that today, I'm assuming. So the lesser known Fast 205, but nonetheless still very pretty with its steel wheels, is this XS. I think these had the 1.4 engine in, a bit overshadowed by the GTI, but still benefited from that very clean, in fact beautiful Pininfarina styling, didn't it? Didn't they do a job with that one? I do like those, especially the early ones with the plastic panel between the lights. Now, I may well have seen this car before. It's a Mark 1 Golf, quite a relatively late one, because it's an 83, so I suspect it might have come from another market, maybe Right and Drive South Africa, who knows. But that looks lovely. It looks great with those wheels on, doesn't it? So this Misano red BMW E30 M3 has had incredibly the same owner from new. They've got 220 horsepower. Doesn't sound a lot these days, but one of just 500 units that came in officially in this batch to the UK. All left-hand drive, never a right-hand drive version was released of these. It's got that higher boot lid that you'll see there, and doesn't it look epic? I can see why the owners had it from new and still got it now. Well, this TR3 looks so lovely, you could probably pick it up and take it home. It looks absolutely glorious, doesn't it? TR's built for the American market primarily, under Standard Triumph ownership. Standard bought Triumph in 1939 and continued to use the brand for some years, and this one looks absolutely lovely, doesn't it? Beautiful. That's a lovely Porsche 928S, not particularly early car, might be a Series 2 or maybe a Series 3 car. Very striking look. Originally thought it was going to replace the 911, never managed it, and the 911 outlived it. And they're still good looking cars, aren't they? Yeah, Porsches, we've got a few of them. We've got a 911 SC Super Carrera, I think that was. We've got last of the air-cooled cars. We've got a 993, that's a Targa. So built, I think, on the body of the Cabriolet, not a sort of cut down normal fixed head car. We've got probably another SC there as well. That's a striking colour scheme on that one, isn't it? Wow, that really stands out. Well, this, my friends, can only be a Hillman Imp, and doesn't it look lovely in this sort of turquoisey blue colour? Looks like a relatively early car. As we all know, built in Linwood in Scotland, not a commercial success for some reasons of reliability initially. I think my granddad had one and that overheated back in the day, apparently, I'm told. But they solved a lot of these issues. It was just a bit more development, the rush to get it in production. And you've got that Coventry Climax based engine out back. That is very nice. Well, the Aston Martin DB9 is truly beautiful, apparently better built than the V8 Vantages of the time, and this one's unusual in that it's a manual. The manuals are highly prized and significantly more expensive, but even many years after production, this is what, maybe 2001, 2002, I'm not sure, but it's quite an old car, but it doesn't look it, does it? Hasn't it worn its years well? You could happily drive around in that and look $1 million. Incredible. This beautiful 1990 Silver Spur, 6.75 litres, all of it, was actually owned and run by the chairman of Vickers. Now, Vickers at the time, I should explain, owned Rolls-Royce motor cars for a time. So I bet he got the best one off the production line, didn't he? It's in great order. These cars can be bought down at bargain basement levels, but not at this type of condition, which is beautiful, isn't it? But obviously you should expect repair bills that go with its status of one of the most iconic cars out there. Beautiful. And we've got a phase 2 Renault 5 Turbo. The early cars I don't think had the body coloured kit on them. I think it was more coded rather than actually in the same colour as the body. This one's beautiful because it's totally unmodified by the look of it, and it looks all the better for it, in my opinion. So this W140 Series S-Class is king of the pile. It's got the AMG modifications. It's a V12, believe it or not. Let's have a look inside and see what immense car this is. Incredible. Real legroom in there is unbelievable, isn't it? Very nice place to be in the front. No shortage of fake wood. Now on the back of these, interesting that you can see the aerial there, but also there are two chrome poles that pop out. You can see them, they're recessed at the moment. There's one there and there's also one on this side just over there. Now what those are is pre the days of park distance control in BMW speak, those poles came out to actually show you where the edge of the car was. Absolutely incredible, isn't it? I may stand corrected, but I'm pretty sure it's the only Toyota Crown mild hybrid here. Got some lovely features. Looks like a bit of a cut down Toyota Century in terms of styling, and the Crown's been running for years. Look at the little marker lights it's got there. It's got the illuminated parking poles on the corner just to help you parking in those tight Tokyo streets. Looks to have quite a bit of passenger room in the back. It's got quite a square roof profile. Oh, got that, look at that lovely velour type trim. Hopefully beautiful, isn't it? Well, that's the only way to travel, isn't it? Toyota Crown. And in fact you can't even feel bad about driving it because it says it's a mild hybrid as well. How good is that? We've got here an utterly priceless BMW 507, built in small numbers, just in the low hundreds. The cars these days are worth absolutely immense amounts of money, and even one of these was driven by Elvis Presley when he was stationed in Germany. What a rarity to see that here today. I've never seen one before. Re-engineered and reimagined by a company called Kingsley are these Suffix A or early series Range Rovers. This one's in Bahama Gold, and I think they've got the 4.6 litre engine transplant, making them a lot more drivable, and crucially, with still their historic status, they are ULEZ compliant. So there you go. Oh, this is a little beauty, isn't it? It's a Peugeot 106 Rally. Might even be an Peugeot UK car, looking at the suffix on the registration. Got those trademark white, I think they're steel wheels, I presume, and it looks utterly unmarked, doesn't it? What a lovely car. I think these had the 1.3 litre engine, homologated for a rally series. I think the UK got slightly less powerful cars, but nevertheless beautiful condition. So this is a glorious W114 series, but coupe again, pillarless beauty. It's on air suspension. It's had the air suspension done, but you wouldn't know when it was running. And it's in a beautiful green colour, 280 CE. So thanks again for watching me on Lot 76 cars from the Collecting Cars Coffee Run at Bicester. Please like, share, subscribe, click on notifications to be informed of my next video, and once again, as always, thanks for watching.